BricsCAD is computer-aided design software for people who build things. It's the best choice for drafters, designers, architects, and engineers. It's highly compatible with everything you already know. It's based on industry standard DWG for both 2D drafting and 3D modeling. BricsCAD leverages the power of artificial intelligence to help you work faster and more accurately. Hundreds of third-party applications run on BricsCAD to power your workflows. BricsCAD is a design platform that runs as one product, end-to-end. BricsCAD BIM is a unique, CAD-accurate building information modeling system that keeps design first. BricsCAD Mechanical brings a familiar workflow to mechanical assembly design, and it works with BricsCAD BIM to enable the design and documentation of manufactured building products. No other CAD vendor can deliver on this promise. BricsCAD is cost-effective. A BricsCAD perpetual license is half the price of a yearly subscription to that other CAD program. Try BricsCAD today.
into ID. We'll have modeling, we'll have furniture library, as I mentioned, materials and finishing, and rendering. And towards the end, I'll have a bit of a tip for you on documentation. So first, what's usually our starting point when we go into interior design? We get information from other consultants, from the client, from our own measurement. This can be in the form of BIM. And sometimes we also get something like this, just a floor plan, perhaps some bare elevations that come with this too. And sometimes also just a very rough hand sketch, such as this, very rough. So today, let's just start somewhere in between all of these and go with a line plan. So let's go ahead and see BricsCAD here. So I've opened up BricsCAD right now, and I just have here a floor plan, which is basically a line diagram. It's nothing special. This can be something that you've drafted out, and I see here that I only have some lines and polylines. It's all in 2D currently. And we can see that we can actually model this out very easily in BricsCAD. So in BricsCAD Pro, you'd see that the ribbon is up here. We have a few tabs up here. And on the right side, we'll see a few more panels. We have some tips, of course, if you need those tips. We have properties. We have a library that we'll be using later, mostly. And we have attachments panel for you if you have any attachment drawings that you would want or extract in. As interior designers, sometimes we need to extract in some mechanical layouts, lighting from the electrical designer, and a lot of the other coordination that comes with the territory. So this is something that can be useful. And we also have a parameters and constraints panel, which again is part of BricsCAD Pro. And we'll have a look at some of the other panels here, like layers and components later. Let me just close this and concentrate on the 2D plan that we have right now. And let's say we are tasked to design only this part of the floor plan as ID going into a building. So earlier, we actually saw a bigger part of the whole building, wherein this may be probably the second level or only level 4 of the building that we're tasked to design. So very easily with BricsCAD, I can actually see immediately how much area I need to design, which is roughly 290 square meters right now. I have some information on the perimeter, so I can easily get that with the rollover tips I have here. And this is a very special tool that I really, really like, which is the boundary detection. It can detect the enclosures that you have in your drawing. And as you remember, we just saw that these are just lines and polylines. So that's really good when we are trying to just extrude out or push pull a few of the shapes that we want, or just get information from these spaces. So let's start modeling this. And we see here, really, it's just a 2D plan. And one of the good things about BricsCAD Pro, I would say, would be the direct modeling capabilities such as this. So I'm just starting out with a box and basically putting in my slab, such as this. And let's just complete the slab here over on this side. So I have my complete floor here. And I can use this later also to be part of my ceiling so that I have it covered when I'm doing my lighting layout, perhaps. So let's just get this together with make it one whole solid here. So one of the things that we'll also see here is that we can easily extrude a few of these parts. So earlier we found that this boundary tool is quite effective. So we can easily detect the boundaries from this floor plan. And if, let's say, all these lines were just connected in terms of the wall thicknesses, we'll be able to easily bring up all the walls. But maybe this is a plan that was a bit taken from maybe an architectural plan and they just gave it to us. So we can directly select all these thicknesses with the boundary detection. And let's see here, I think I need this as well because this is enclosing the space that we have. And finally, this and this. So if you see, as I move my mouse around, I can actually see that there's something that's popping up. And this is what we call the quad. And the quad is a tool. It's an AI tool, machine learning tool that will suggest features or tools to me depending on what entity I'm choosing. So if you notice here, we were choosing the boundary, meaning BricsCAD has noticed that this is something that we might want to extrude. Do we want to push pull perhaps, or surface extrude and do other actions here? So there are other sub menus here if you don't find it on the topmost layer, which is going to be the most used based on the machine learning of BricsCAD. So right now, let's just extrude this out. And we'll see that we are able to extrude out all these walls together without any hitch. So you also see that there is something that's appearing here, which is a black key. And it's another sub-menu that BricsCAD gives us to be able to create our 3D modeling and any other tools that we have. So with Extrude, if you remember, we chose Extrude. So what comes with Extrude are following choices as well. So you see there is on the command line, there's auto, create, subtract, unite. And these are part of the hotkey assistant. And that's what we call this black band right here. So if I click control, I can just see that it seems to be the same, but initially, if I extruded it out without clicking control to create a new solid, it would be unioned together with my slab, which is what I created previously. So right now I want my walls to be separate. So I just click create basically. So I can input my height here, which is about 3,000, which is floor to ceiling maybe. So just put an enter there so I can immediately go into this space and I have my interior space easily model.me with the tools that we just saw. So let's say after doing this shell, what we can do now is, of course, take note of the actual situation on site. And especially if the building is already there, we all know that it's important to consider what's as built. So we need to get this information and before we even start to design. So most of the time we need to visit the space probably and take more measurements, and then maybe we forget something the first time, and so we'll return and take even more measurements. So there are changes that happen even before we start to design into our model. So anyway, one of the most important things to know, as you all know, is to know where the natural light comes from, because this will affect how we design our space basically. So from the image previously that we saw, maybe some photos on site or maybe some perspective from the architect, we know that there are windows here and here. And basing on this image, let me just flash that again. This is the image, this one. Yeah, this is the one, right? So we see that if we need to design this level for level 2, these windows will be here. And counting here, there are about 12 of these windows. So I just want to model them out properly just to make sure that I capture those and capture the light coming into my space. So BricsCAD actually has a built-in library that we saw earlier, and one of these would be the windows. So let's click into the windows, and these are actually custom windows that I have already added into the library, but we have all these built in for us. So let's say we just start with something that's already built in, which is a window 1 by 1 here. And using this window, I can immediately drag it into my model and place it on this wall that I have here. So I can immediately put in the distance that I want on the left side, which is pretty good so that I know exactly how far that is away from the wall. And the space to the bottom of my floor would be maybe just 200. And putting clicking on enter, that will place that window for me. So if I click on this window, I can see the properties of this window. And the library that's built into BricsCAD is actually parametric. So you'd see that all these entities or components would have these parameters. For this window specifically, we have the width and the height. So let's say we already know that based on site that this window is has a width of 1, 2. So we can easily put that there. And you'd see that the model is actually changing as we put in the information. So even the height, we can change that. Let's say this one, we may move to 2,300 meters. So that can change for us immediately. And it's quite easy to just change the information as we go along. Of course, these parametric components are something that you can also create, but maybe that's for another session. For now, let's just use what we have on hand. So this window is just one of the 12 that we need to create. And I can easily copy this window just using my usual copy and using my base point, go onto this base point. And I can actually repeat this. I have an option of repeating it. And I just want to repeat it a few times to make sure that I have 12 of these windows. So I put it there very quickly. I am able to see that I've created those windows, and each of these windows are the components that we created. And this is based on what we resized earlier. So that's pretty good. So actually, I've already added this window size into my library, which is this one, 2 by 2, 3. And I'll just use this to create the windows on this over on this left side. So let me just place this properly here. So let's say I just place it somewhere here. I don't know yet. Maybe I just place it there. So I know that the distance from this point to the end of this wall is 2,200. And maybe based on measurements, I know that this should be only 500 from the edge of the wall. So 2,200 minus 500 should be, I should be shifting it by 1,700. So what I can do is just simply move it, M per move basically, and put in my displacement. And that's going to be 1,700 and enter. So you'd see that once I move that window, this wall immediately heals by itself. I don't even have to go in and do any amendments to that wall wherein I had originally placed that window mistakenly. So that's pretty useful as well. This is making modeling our space easier. And we're just beginning to form our space right now. We haven't even delved into the interior part, but we all know that this is very important for us to be able to design the interior. So let's just repeat what we did earlier, which is to copy this window a few times over on this side. Similarly to just make sure that we are mimicking the actual situation. So let me repeat that. And this is about 10 as well. So, yeah. So we have these windows immediately modeled out for us. And if I actually select one of these, BricsCAD actually knows it is a window based on the component that we got it from, even if we resize it or did amendments to it. So that's pretty good. And that's going to be useful if later on you would want to extract out data, but you're not going to do that. So after putting in our natural light sources, let's see what other information we have in terms of the aspect. So I know that maybe I have some doors over here. There was a double door here and a single door here. So I'll just get some doors here as well. I think I'll just use this one, just pretty simple, just a double door, placing it here as well. And you see the rollover tip for BricsCAD also notes that it's a block reference, it's a parametric block, and I can immediately change any information that might be useful for me over here if it's in the wrong layer and some of the immediate information that I can see on my rollover. But of course, a lot of the information can be found on the properties tab. So that's pretty good. And then I can just now pick this door perhaps to be placed over on the side. I had one door here. So now I have generally the shell of what I'm supposed to design. So now we have this set. Let's now move into the interior space itself. So separately, we may have already planned out the subspaces for this office. So we may already have our general bubble diagrams and space layout studies that we've done and coordinated and discussed over with our colleagues and such. So now we're ready to just put in the information in our model and create eventually a visualization that will be ready to present to the client. So let's go to the very first one that we want to do here, which would be perhaps in my space study, I had figured out that the part of the space near the windows would be where I'm going to put in my desks and chairs. So this is going to be the working space. And then maybe on this side, there will be a mini discussion area. And over on the corner here, maybe just a mini lounge for the employees. So I'm going to go back to the library that we have and just find some furnishing element that I can use from here. And I find here a furniture desk, so I can immediately put that inside here. And I might want to rotate this, so I can just click rotate here. And I can immediately do a rotate. Let me rotate. Okay, so that's going to rotate. And then I can place that just somewhere on this area. I don't need it to be perfect right now. I just want to see the general layout, maybe something like this. So after putting this, I also may know that for the design brief for this office, the client might want the desks to be quite large. Maybe it's part of their work, but they need this space. So again, because it's parametric, I can immediately just change this length over here. Perhaps this is something like 2450 millimeters. So I can enter that. And immediately, again, that will change for me. And of course, together with the desk, we need an office chair. So I just found here a desk chair. It's the built-in desk chair in BricsCAD, so I can just use this for now. Maybe just place it here for now. And then in BricsCAD, we can actually rotate this easily with the manipulator. So I'll just use a manipulator. With the manipulator is actually very useful. It's not just for rotating. It's with the name, it can manipulate your entity in so many ways. So we'll see a few of these here. So let me just rotate this easily. It snaps to certain angles. And immediately I want to move this here over to the center of this desk to align it together there. And I just want to shift this a bit forward. Okay. So maybe I have something like this. And then now I want to just make sure that I am able to cater for the number of employees, perhaps, for this office. So maybe the design brief tells me that I have to have about 20 to 25 people in this office. So for this corner, I'll have 6 people in 4 sets, basically. So I can just select all these. And with the manipulator, I can also do a quick mirror of my entities, such as this. And I can also do a quick copy as well of my entities. So copy and here. And I can also repeat this because I wanted 6 of these in my space. So let me just copy that again. Okay, that's fine. You can actually also still use your usual commands that you're familiar with, which is copy, move, mirror. Those are all still available. So if you're more comfortable with those, that's perfectly fine. Let's say I have something like this, and I now want to make sure that I have this in the 4 sets. So maybe I'll just place a few here and another set on this side. So this is just a rough placement of the layout that I may want to present to the client. So that's good enough for now. And then over on this side, I wanted to have a mini discussion area. So on my finishing elements, I also can find a dining table that I can actually manipulate to become a discussion table because it's all parametric. So this is currently having a radius of 500. Maybe I want this to be 600, so I can just make it a bit bigger so I can fit a few more people there. And in our library, we also have some furniture such as this. So let me drag that in. So you can see how easy it is for you to just put in your layout and make sure that you have entities that you be using in terms of furniture based on your desired proposal for your client. So let's say I want 5 here. So I'll just use array. Array is again very standard, pretty standard. So we also have that. So I'll just use a polar array for this, get here on the center, and make sure that I have 5 people instead of 6. So I can put that there. And that's it. So maybe I need another set of this. So I have 2 discussion areas here. So there. Okay, so after this, I might just want to work on the mini lounge area here. So this is gonna be just a few armchairs, nothing special. Let's see here, I have this, maybe you can use this big couch. So it's rotated. This way so that I can have one here and another one here, which is a bit shorter. And very quickly, let's put in a coffee table. So this is just a very brief proposal for now. Okay, so currently that's done. So let's say you have something a bit more customized that you have in mind. We've just so far used whatever we have here on the library. Oh, I just noticed something here. My slide has moved. Let me just put it back. Sometimes it's a bit tricky. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, let's say you have something more customized in mind, and maybe you want to have a bit more of a special shelf on this area because it's a huge blank wall here. So with BricsCAD, I can also make sure that I am just focusing on one of the faces, and I can use the usual rectangle perhaps to just start off my shelf here. Nothing fancy, just a rectangle. So this rectangle now I can manipulate by just shifting these grips. Actually, I think you'd be quite used to this. So something like this, a bit of a trapezoidal shape that's a bit twisted. So we'll stick with this for now. And let's just immediately create our furniture from here. So it's just a shelf. So I'll just offset this to make sure I have the thickness. Offset it by 50 to say. So because we had the boundary tool, boundary detection tool, I can immediately get this boundary as well. And also, again, immediately extrude it out and create a new solid out of this. So it's not going to be attached to the wall. So let's say for this shelf, I just wanted to have a 450 shelf. That's good enough for me, perhaps. So I now have something like this. And you see, this is actually a separate solid from the wall. We just used the face of the wall as our guide face basically. So now the next thing for us to do is create the shelving actually inside our design shelf. So I'll just use a usual box tool. So the important thing for me right now is the thickness of this. I'll just put it at 50 and make sure I am putting it at 450 because that's the thickness of the shelf that we did earlier. So, okay, and then I can immediately bring it up. So I'll just bring it up halfway for now because if you notice, this is a slanted part of our shelf. And one of my favorites, again, from BricsCAD is that we can select this face and we can use connect with mirrors. And you can just imagine how difficult this would be for some of the other software that I was using before, how to actually connect something to a slanted face. It wasted so much time. So here with BricsCAD, I can just click once and it connects already to a slanted surface. And then now I'll just create some of my shelves. I'll just use something similar. And have my thickness here. Maybe I have my shelving to be just 20 thick. So you might find this weird that I'm just drawing it currently like this, but there is a reason for this. So I can also just copy this out a few times. Copy this out a few times, copy and repeat it at 450 height. So let's repeat it a few times, maybe until only here. Okay, so that's pretty good. At least I have something there, maybe for some displays. And let's just have this close up here. So again, we have something of a slant here to connect all these shelving to. And what we can use is actually something that comes just before connecting views is to select all the aligned faces. So once I select all the aligned faces, I can immediately select all these without having to go through them one by one. And after that, I can immediately connect them to the nearest solid, which is the slanted surface on my right side. And that makes it pretty fast, right? So I can do the same way. It's the same thing on the other side. Let's just do that quickly. Actually, this is one of my favorite parts to do in BricsCAD because it's just so easy to do. And let's see here. Let's copy this out again. Okay, copy and repeat. Got 450. And maybe for this side, yeah, let's keep it at the same height. I think that should be fine. And use that again. Select all the faces together and just connect it with the mirrors. So all of these are actually solid entities that you can control one by one. So that's pretty quick, I think, just to create something like this. And beyond this, we can actually add this into our library. So that's another thing that's really good. At this point, I'll just create a new drawing. And I'm just going to use a new drawing to make sure that I'm on a 0, 0 starting point whenever I insert this component in. So that's something that you don't really need to do. You can actually add this component into the library within a whole model, but it's just something that I like to do because it's pretty useful. So I can use a new drawing here from a template that I might already be preferring. So I can also have this plus icon here, just create a new drawing here. And perhaps this one, I need to be on perspective mode, so that's good. And we actually have this look from here. Later we'll have some use for that as well. So from my floor plan, I can select this, all these, just copy them and put them in my drawing. So currently, this is how it looks. And just put it on 0, 0, 0. Make sure that's on, I'm on my origin point. And if I see this, it's because I'm probably on a wireframe mode, so I'll just go to modeling mode. And maybe I want to change this a bit, make it a bit lighter. So yeah, so let's say this is what I prefer to add into my library. I just go into my library and I will see here a plus icon. So I can easily use this and I can select the entire drawing because I created the new drawing for this exactly, for this purpose. And I can now put in a polygon shelf, perhaps. And I can put it in the same category as all the other furnishing that I have. I can actually create a new category if I want. And I can also put in if it's millimeters or inches whenever it's inserted. So right now I just create it. And once I create that, it should be inside my furnishing elements already. We named it as polygon shelf. So we'd see it at letter P, polygon shelf, it's this. So let's go back to our floor plan and we should be able to, oh, this is the one, polygon shelf. So we should be able to insert it back into our floor plan as already part from our library. So I can just easily place it here. This is just a scale factor if you want to make it bigger, but for now I think I'll go with just all the one scale. I just prefer to be the same scale as what I created it. So I have my general layout now. It's a very simple one. Of course, you can model out even more. You can create your wall designs. You can create your cornices. You can create anything with direct modeling, and you can even create your own parameters to add into your library as parametric blocks as well. But for now, let's stick with this because after we've planned all these out, of course, we modeled out the improvements, placed our general layout. We want to create some quick rendered images so the client can easily picture the vision for their space because that's basically the goal of having the visualization is to present it to the client because it's their space, right? So we of course don't want to take up too much time because as we know, changes are inevitable once you show it to the client. So this is where Twinmotion comes in handy. It's easy, quick, real-time rendering that we can do with Twinmotion. There are, of course, other rendering software that we can use with BricsCAD, but Twinmotion is actually free with BricsCAD right now, so we might as well use it, right? So Twinmotion is by Unreal Engine from the gaming software industry. So real-time is definitely something they're experts in because of course gaming industry has to be that way. So for now, I will just create my ceiling solid. So nothing too special. I'll just copy my slab right now here so that I just have that covering later on and I export it out. So I think we're done with this one. I can also let me see something inside. I think maybe this one we don't want it. Let's just leave it for now. And then let's show everything again. Okay. That's also something that you can do easily. Hide entities, isolate entities, and show entities with BricsCAD. So after this, maybe we want to save it, and let's just also make sure that we export it out to a datasmith file. And this is the file format that's going to be readable by Twinmotion, and we can import it to Twinmotion later on. So let's just name it floor plan basically. So this we wanted to be floor plan, save. Okay, I had something that I saved earlier, so yes, I'll just replace that. Okay, so I now have this floor plan as a view datasmith file, and I can now go into Twinmotion, and I basically opened it already. So now I can import that file into Twinmotion. So I can import this in. Let's get this floor plan. This is the one that we just saved just now. Open this up, and for options, I want to make sure that I keep the hierarchy of entities or objects that I had earlier, just to be able to make sure I find things easier. So, okay, I can do that here. And bringing that into Twinmotion, I now have, okay, slightly, everything is just currently white. We didn't really do any material addition rendering earlier in BricsCAD, but actually BricsCAD also has some render panel that you can use, but for quick ones currently, and then if you want to immediately go into the high resolution images, I'm going to just use Twinmotion. So we kept the hierarchy, and that's going to be found here on this side. So we see the floor plan, we see all our 3D solids, level 0 layer. And if we go down here, we'll see all the furniture, all the desks that we have added into our model earlier. So all these, once you click here, will actually also be immediately brought into that specific item in the hierarchy. So that's pretty good as well to be able to maneuver your model when you're in Twinmotion mode. So I'll just keep this for now. And let's see, what do we want to do next? Let's now apply some materials because that's the whole point. Materials can be found over on this side. There is a library in Twinmotion, and we see materials immediately here. We have objects, we have characters. These are people that we can use to bring into your image. We also have a user library, which is your own library that you can add components into. This also includes maybe some files or models from Google Warehouse. If you have a lot of those, you can use all of them. So let's just focus first on a few materials that I want to apply here. Let's see. The first one would be the brick wall behind here. So before I do that, let me just quickly, this is the 3D solid. Let me hide this for now so that I can focus on everything inside. Makes it easier for us to see everything inside. So let's see. I want some brick wall over on my back part of the wall. So inside the materials library, I can find brick, which is here. And if you see, there's previews to all these materials and how they're going to look. So that's pretty useful as well. Let me find here, maybe let's use this P5 for the back walls here. Just make sure I apply to the object. It's going to be here. Let's move closer. Currently, we don't have any lighting, so we're going to apply those later, but for now, let's just go into this space. Maybe it's good if we make sure the time of the day is a bit sunnier or earlier in the day, so we can find this. So we can see this more clearly. So this is pretty useful also. See the time of the day. Let's brick. Let's put it here as well and here. So I'll take with that. Next would be over on the other side of our wall, I would maybe want some bare concrete just to have that different feel. So outside brick, I can find concrete as well. And I can just choose anything from here. So maybe I'll choose this bare concrete tree, just drag it into this wall as well. So if you notice here, there was a break in our wall, in our model. But if I did a union on that, that will just be dragged and applied once. So let's see. Let's also apply the bare concrete over on this side. So next would be, oops, where did I go? Okay, here. So next would be, we have another wall here, so let's just apply that again. That's good. And then let's now move on to the floor. So for floor, maybe we want something a bit more of a fabric. And just to make it more visual, let's get something a bit more crazy here. Let's use this one panel carpet. Let's attach that to our floor. And the good thing about this is actually everything that we've applied so far, we can adjust the scale of all these visually. So let's just move that to be a bit smaller. That will be applied to our model. Okay. So maybe we can stick with a 13.3 scale. Okay. So next would be putting in some furniture, which actually we can use the furniture that we have brought in from BricsCAD. But one of the good things also with this Twinmotion library or user library is that we can bring in our own as well. And before that, we can also find some objects. Let's say here, office, I can find some tables here. Maybe I find something here that already fits what I want. So at the end here, there is something here for 6 people. So if you remember, we did this design for 6 people. And right now, I just want to quickly do my visualization without having to waste so much time. So for my hierarchy, I can actually just find here a desk. And then all the desks will be shown to me. And I can now, let's see here, desk and furniture, desk, chair, all these I can turn off for now. And I can immediately just replace all these first with this one. So it's basically something that will again make things faster for us. So I'll just shift that here. Okay. So let's say we have something here, and we have this green color, which we can also replace. That's pretty good. So let's see. Let's find one here. I think what did I change? Let's see here. So this one, let's do my color before. I think this one I can manage changes also. And once you've changed all these information, you can actually save a copy into your user library. So I will just show you what I've saved earlier. Go back to the very first folder here, which is showing me my user library. And I have here the one that I changed already, which is showing me a bit of a bluish gray color or tone for this furniture. So I can immediately just use this. Let me now replace this. Just delete it so I can replace it with the one that I prefer. So I can still move all these furniture if I want to. So we had 4 of these. So let's also just rotate this. Okay. So that should be fine. And then one last one will be here. You can type it in as well. So let me just quickly do this. Okay, so once we have all these, adjust it a bit further. All right. So once we have all these, we can actually also change a lot more of the materials that we have here. Maybe let me see. Oh, I forgot something. There's a panel that I wanted to put as well. So maybe I'll just shift these two a bit. Make sure I have some space for the panel. So you see how easy it is. If you want to change anything, you can actually immediately bring it in. You can see everything real time, changing the scale, changing the color, changing all the materials. So that's really, really useful if you want to quickly see your visualizations. So let's say even for this table, maybe let's just have something crazy. Or okay, maybe just something not too crazy. That's it. Okay, so we can change that. And lastly, if you remember, we did this shelving here. So I'll just apply a material here as well. It's not just for items or entities that were already created. So let's see materials. Let's go to wood. Maybe for this, I want something maple. So I can apply that here. And I can actually place the material. So after testing it out, I want it for all my shelves. So I think I can do this. And that's it basically for this part. And if you remember, we love our, this was the one, our ceiling earlier. So let's go back to this and just go into our space. Okay. So for the ceiling, we also have something that we can use. But now I just want to find the angle wherein I want to get an image from. So for this ceiling, I can also get here, we have some ceiling, and I think this is good enough. And maybe also scale this smaller, not too big. Like this. And then with this as well, if you notice earlier, outside with my user library, I had a ceiling light that I also prepared, and this is actually from the video lectures. So I can immediately bring the ceiling light in, such as this. Let's bring it down so that you can see the actual fixture here. And we can now bring in a few more here. Just place them properly. And over on the other side. Maybe something like this. And then let's just quickly have a view that we may want to save later on. So finally here, I just have one last thing to do. For these doors, we also have glass that we can apply. So for the glass, it can be clear, of course, but there are some frit patterns here that we can use. So we have some design stickers. I think I want this. So let's just apply this. So I think this is good enough for me. So I think this is the first cut video of what I want to give to the client to see if they have any comments. So what do I need to do now is just get the image up. So how do we do that? Let's just go here and get the image. And this is the view, right? Just go to the view specifically or what you want. Maybe like earlier, we can adjust the timing of the day if you want it a bit later in the day, earlier in the day, or maybe a bit like this. This may be something that you prefer. So it's easy also done through a lot of the tools here with Twinmotion. And it's as easy as taking a picture basically. So I just click on create image and the image is created for me. And now I can easily export this out, get my image. So when you create a lot of images, they'll be just listed out here. And you can start to export the image to this one and you start to export and save it out. So actually, I've already saved this out and it's one of the images that you saw when you registered for this webinar. So let's just see that image. See it here, which is this one. So you're able to create something like this very quickly. And I was explaining so many things when I was doing it. But if you think about it, if you were doing it on your own and you just knew what you had to do and just drag and replace materials, change colors, put in the patterns, put in the materials, adjust the lighting, the time of the day, it's really, really very fast for you to be able to do this. And just remember that all things that you have created with BricsCAD, you can immediately bring it into Twinmotion to create this image very quickly. So one of the last things that I wanted to share, as I mentioned earlier, is a tip on documentation, because when we present this to the client, maybe there are a few adjustments and maybe we get it approved. And now we all know that getting the design approved isn't the end of it. We need to execute it. And one of the most important things is documentation. And we all know how time consuming that is. And I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of the documentation, but I just like to show one thing that can help out. So by this, I mean, I'm just going back to BricsCAD, and I want to show one of the tools that you can use actually. We have here a section plane. And let's say you just want an interior elevation. I can immediately get a section based on this face. And this is all doable with BricsCAD Pro. So let's say I want this view. I can close this. So let me just hide this. So we can find the section object. And this section object is something that I can extract out the elevation of that. So let me get that up here. And rotate it. Okay, so as you can see, it has actually extracted out the elevation based on the section entity that we created, and that's very fast. And normally we would have to do this very in a very long time. So having to extrude out or project all the lines, creating all the furniture, having to make sure we have a lot of blocks of the furniture just to make sure that we have that view. We have all these assets because of these requirements, but actually in BricsCAD, you can do it very easily. So of course, you can create as much of these sections as you want. So let's say you want it from this angle, and I can easily just move it here. So maybe just to see this view, and I can easily need to close it so it doesn't get cut. So let me just extract that part here. So you can find it here. And it's so easy to just have our elevation or interior elevation. And you can immediately go into your layout space, your sheets, and do your documentation on your sheets. So yeah, I think that's it. And what I've shown you today is actually just a very, very simple office design. You can explore and create more detailed designs, build your library further, and create images, even more images. So let's just go back to the image that we saw earlier that we created on a different time of the day. It can be like this. And it's just making things faster for you, making you more productive. And at the end of the day, thinking of the design solutions is your expertise as a designer, but a software should be able to be a tool for us to show the design solutions you have in mind and not hinder the way we work. It should be easy and fast for us to use this, and it should be able to give out the output of having that visualization to present our ideas. And that's going to be better for us, better for the client. Everything is A-okay. And then it will move the process even faster. So I think that's it for today. We're just in time for the end of the session. So I hope you learned a few things from today, a few new things. And thank you for your time. Have a good day. And I'll see you in future sessions. Thank you.